afternoon. My name is Dustin Birch. I'm the Chief of Police at the Cuba Police Department, and I'm here to report that on September 11th, 2012, at approximately 3:45 p.m. in the town of Cuba, South Shore Road on Cuba Lake, we responded to a report of an alleged homicide. 61-year-old Susan Babcock of 31 South Shore Road in Cuba was found deceased inside of her vehicle with an apparent gunshot wound. Following a 9-hour investigation and several-hour manhunt, the suspect, 69-year-old Thomas Jerge of 30 South Shore Road in the town of Cuba, New York, was found deceased with a self-inflicted gunshot wound at a seasonal camp just down the road from South Shore. I have Captain Negrelli here with me from the State Police. They assisted us. I'll let him speak briefly on some of the agencies that were involved on his aspect, or on his side of it.
Once it was determined that the suspect had fled the residence, we immediately scrambled one of our aircraft to search. We knew what vehicle he had, so we were searching the area. They were able to locate the vehicle in a cabin wooded area just off South Shore Road. Then the State Police SORT team, along with Allegheny County Sheriff's Department SWAT team, over time made our way up to the camp, and at that time they were able to determine that the suspect, Mr. Thomas Jerge, was deceased from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Throughout this investigation, the public has been very helpful, the neighbors, and in fact, a passerby actually saw the suspect approaching the victim with a gun in his hand. And that's how we were able to so quickly discern who the assailant was and what occurred.
I'd like to add to that the Sheriff's Department, this is Sheriff Rick Whitney with the Allegheny County Sheriff's Department. His agency also assisted us. They did a phenomenal job. We had, I think, like Captain Negrelli said, we had the aviation unit from the State Police, but we also had the Town of Cuba Ambulance Squad and the Fire Department, which was instrumental in helping us with traffic control. So we do want to, send out a public thank you to them for a job well done by our volunteers. At this time, we can open it up to any questions anybody should have. Yes, sir.
Where was the self-inflicted gunshot wound? Where was it? Did he head, chest?
Due to the graphic nature of that, we won't be releasing at this time.
Okay.
You had a rifle?
It was reported that he had a rifle walking down South Shore Road, a rifle with a scope, but we can't comment on the weapons yet because we are waiting for the Monroe County Coroner's Office to finish the autopsies. So at this point, we're not going to comment on what weapons were used yet.
We're hearing from neighbors about a feud, a long, ongoing feud for years. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, that's correct. Minor, minuscule feuds throughout the last year and a half. Nothing that we ever thought would be this significant, but it was just minor feuds over parking issues, things of that nature. Like I said, nothing that we thought would ever come to this point.
Was he arrested a year ago?
He was arrested. Yes, he was arrested before.
And what did that have to do with the feud between the Babcocks?
Yes.
Can you talk about what
at this time, I can't divulge any of that. I can just say that it was a minor feud and it was handled in our local court here. But I don't have all the details in front of me right now.
But was there any kind of a restraining order?
There was a restraining order, yes. I believe there was.
Between what? Who stays away from who?
The female and the male, the victim and the suspect.
But I mean, was it given to one person, or was she given the restraining order against him, or what?
It was given against him, yes.
Against him.
Mr. Jerge, yes.
Did he violate the restraining order?
At this time, I believe, I don't recall if the restraining order was still in effect because the arrest was over a year ago. So I believe that the restraining order might have been out of effect at this time.
Chief, I can comment on that.
Can you comment on that? Okay. This is Officer Gladio with the police department. He did handle the arrest, so.
The order of protection.
Is there any way you can come up closer to the mic?
The order of protection was still in effect on yesterday's date, and there was an arrest made by our department, the Cuba Police Department, approximately 2.5 months ago or a month ago, for violating the order of protection. Yes.
And he had a hearing coming up or something? Or?
He had a court appearance due September 11th here at the Cuba Town Court.
Was that at night?
Yes.
7 o'clock at night he was supposed to appear, yes.
I went out there briefly just to kind of look. It's like 30 and 31, right? They're right.
Yes.
They're kind of right
Yes.
next to each other.
They're right next
How
to
do
each
you-
other.
I mean, with a restraining order, I mean, how do you separate the two? How does
It's
that
awful.
work?
It's awful hard. I mean, the courts stipulate what the restraining orders are, but it's very difficult to. You can't make someone move, and vice versa, either party. So it's very difficult when they're living right next to each other. That was one of the struggles that we deal with in law enforcement. Obviously, is trying to keep that peace and trying to maintain those orders, especially when it is a neighbor dispute such as this one.
Quiet lakeside community, this is something that was never a possibility before, correct?
Yeah, I want to reiterate too. Cuba's a great town. The lake is a great place for people to come and have recreational, events in the summertime, vacation to. This was just a sheer tragedy, and it shouldn't reflect obviously on the community and the lake. But these things do happen at times, and it's very unfortunate. And the police department, obviously, here at the police department, we feel terrible for the victim, and but the community is a very nice community up on the lake and in the town.
He died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound, correct?
That's correct.
He went to a camp he owned or something?
Yes, further down the road, he had a camp further down South Shore Road, and approximately a mile up into the woods, he had a seasonal camp. And that's where he was discovered with a gunshot wound. And we also discovered that his pet, his dog, the dog appeared to have gunshot wounds as well and was deceased.
Where was she actually shot at? Was she shot at her residence in her driveway, or where was
Yes.
where did that actually take place?
That took place in her vehicle in her driveway, the roadside.
Was she going when it happened, or?
We believe she was on her way to pick up her husband at work.
And he just walked up on her? And...
This time that's what we
You
believe,
said it was
yes.
parking issues. Was she in the wrong spot? Maybe that was what caused him to just finally do what he did?
Yeah, I think what it was there was some issues with one person being further over than the other, and in parking areas, and they're crowding each other, and some issues about some trash being put out. It was just very, very minuscule things to really have this a crime of this magnitude and a tragedy of this magnitude happen.
The crime scene tape seems to be around the garage. Was that where the car was parked yesterday?
It was near the garage, yes.
Any idea? I mean, we're talking about these minor things that led up to this tragedy. Something set him off? Do we know if there was something, huge development or something?
At this time, we're not sure. She was home alone and he was home alone. So we really are unaware of if they had any sort of struggle or any sort of argument in the half an hour or so before we received the call. So at this time we're unsure of that.
No note?
No, there was no
How did you
note.
find out about this? I was reading, I think, in some published account about he had confessed to somebody?
Yes, we had a male individual come into our station and report that he received a call from Mr. Jerge. In that phone call, he stated that Mr. Jerge called him and told him that he had done something bad, and that he had shot this individual, and he was heading up to his camp to say goodbye with his dog. And that individual came in here, reported it to us, and from that point on, we responded, secured the initial scene. Once we determined what it was, we stepped back, contacted the district attorney's office, contacted the New York State Police and the sheriff's office for assistance. There was quite heavy traffic on that road. We had to stop the traffic on the road and begin the investigation. But that is how we discovered the investigation.
When was the last time you had a homicide here?
About 12 years ago, I believe. Am I correct on that, Officer Gladio?
Yes, it was November of 2001, I do believe.
Is that also domestic, or is that
No, that was a drug-related incident also occurring on the lake.
Where do you go from here? So what happens?
We'll await the coroner's report. We've worked with these agencies that are here. We will finalize our reports, and at this time we'll see if there's anything we can reach out for the families, just to try to talk with them and explain and sort out the tragedy that's happened. And as far as our officers, I can't speak for the state police or the sheriff's office, but we will be talking with our officers to see if they needed any kind of counseling, and I guess I'll have him comment on what they will be doing.
Part of the process is still, the investigation is still undergoing. you know, when the state police, our aspect of it is the investigative end of this. So interviewing people, trying to get a background. You know, we get called out at 3:40 in the afternoon with not really a lot of prior knowledge about this ongoing dispute. So that's where you start from that point. You want to find out the history of both parties, but also then we have to look at it from the forensic investigative side. I could tell you that the victim was shot multiple times by 2 different weapons. At this time, 3 weapons have been secured and are at the state police in Batavia for examination. It's one of those investigations that you shake your head, and we talk about this all the time, that in our communities, in a small little town like Cuba, New York, that something like this can happen. And it really rocks the community, but it also brings the community together, and that's what we're hoping for.
Shot multiple times?
Multiple times.
Different weapons?
He was shot, she was shot multiple times, or he shot himself multiple times?
I'll say this one more time.
Sorry.
Try to follow along.
Got it.
The victim was shot multiple times by 2 weapons. Those weapons and a 3rd weapon have been secured as evidence. He was shot once, self-inflicted gunshot wound.
Did he have to have a permit for any of those weapons, or were they all hunting weapons? Or can you divulge?
That's part of the ongoing investigation right now. The reason why we can't comment on that is because we're waiting for the coroner's report to see the caliber of the weapons so we can determine which weapons were exactly used at which location.
The weapons he possessed, that you recovered.
He did have every weapon that we have taken in at this point, and weapons from the previous incident were all legally possessed.
All hunting weapons?
Several hunting weapons.
Forgive me, and you may have covered this already. The husband of the victim, did they have a fist fight or something? Jerge?
They had a physical dispute about a year ago.
About a year ago?
It was a year ago.
Okay. And that prompted the restraining order at that point? Or,
Correct. That is correct.
Which was coming up for a hearing now? That right or no? Or was there another?
I'm not familiar with the hearing. He had a court appearance last evening at 7 p.m.
Regarding?
And what was that?
Regarding the order protection violation.
Okay.
Oh.
Okay.
The order of protection from last year's fight, there was a violation, he had a hearing based on that violation from that order a year ago.
That is correct.
Correct.
And that violation happened when? How recent was it?
About a month and a half to 2 months ago.
And do we know the circumstances of that, what he did or said, or?
Not right at this time.
Okay.
So it was just within the last couple of days that he was down here discussing the issue that he had then?
He was not down here. One of the victims was down. The victim was down here discussing an issue with him, and that's what prompted the violation that he committed.
And that violation that he committed, how many days ago did that happen?
Approximately a month and a half.
A month and a half, okay. And there were no other prior incidents from that month and a half till now?
No.
Not that we're aware of. No.
Not that we're aware of. Not that was reported to us, and no neighbors had reported anything to us.
Did she at any point, like, maybe contacted the department or anybody about feeling as though her life was in danger, or that this guy's capable of so-and-so, or anything like that?
Just to the point of the general arguments that they had, it was never. She never contacted us and said that she was in fear of him doing what he did. So it was just general dispute situations where they had a few words exchanged and she was upset, and then we had spoke with him and he was upset, and so it was like more of a verbal disagreement or minor arguments up until now.
There's nothing listed in that in the order of protection, correct then?
Listed as far as?
She felt in danger for her life. Would that have been listed in the order of protection?
I would have to look at the order. I don't have it right in front of me now, so I can't make a comment on that.
So it's kind of like a Hatfield and McCoy type of thing that just got out of hand?
Well, I wouldn't go that far. I mean, it was just, they had some disagreements, and I wouldn't say, it wasn't ongoing for years and years. I mean, it was in the last year or so. And we really had 2 incidents with them, so it wasn't like it was every week or every day we were getting calls and dealing with it, so.
What do you think prompted 2 different weapons on her? That's just
we can't comment on
that's
that.
just really surprising. You must have been really upset to do two different guns.
Could be, but again, we can't really comment on that. We can't make any speculation. We can't comment on that, so.
I mean, it sounds like rage, somebody.
I would think that if you were going to take someone's life, you have a lot of rage and ill feelings. And unfortunately for our victim, she was the target of the rage yesterday.
And regardless of what kind of argument, what kind of situation is going on, nobody deserves to obviously have that type of rage taken out on them. So it's just a sheer tragedy.
You know, did they, both the suspect and the victim in this case, were they living here full time, or were they seasonal?
They were, the suspect lives here full time. The victim is a seasonal resident, but she is local to the area. She just vacations on Cuba Lake for the summer. Anything else? Good.
Unrelated to this, I got a lot of questions about Niagara Falls.
Is there a back door?
No, I'd just say that I'm just thrilled with the way that the agencies work together, and I want to thank all the agencies that were involved and thank our first responders, the ambulance and the fire departments. Without those guys, you know, our job would be a lot more difficult. Thank the state police and the sheriff's office as well.
You said something about the lockdown of the school. How was that all handled?
We contacted the school administrator, and we made the notification to go into lockdown, and they went to lockdown. We also went door to door on South Shore Road. I had officers from our department go door to door, inform the residents of what was transpiring, to keep inside the house, keep the doors locked. The sheriff's department provided a marine unit outside of the house on the lake side to keep boats away. We had numerous boats coming up trying to take pictures and seeing what was going on. So we had a marine unit out there keeping boaters away, and so everything went very smooth, and we knew everybody was safe.
Just verification on times. It happened around 3:45-ish, and then you found him about when?
We received a call at 3:45. At this point, we'll wait for the report from the coroner, and they usually establish what they deem to be a time of death, so we can't comment on that. We received the call at 3:45 from the individual stating he received a call from the suspect, and that's when we began our investigation.
And about what time was it when you actually found him at his place?
Around 9 p.m.
9 p.m.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.